cyber criminals are breaking the laws, but the courts, of course, they can't do much about it. Why? Much to our frustration, they just get away with it. Joining me now is Joshua Michael Jahani, MD of Jahani Associates in New York. Very good morning to you, Joshua. Or good morning from here, anyway.
Good morning, good evening. Thank you for having me, Petrie.
Right, so let's have a look at that, because cybercrime is on the increase. We all know that. We all know that it costs countries and individuals millions of pounds. It's bad for every economy, but and yet it seems like nothing can be done.
Yeah, wow. It's a really because of the nature of the crime. So that article that was picked up was driven by a discussion of intangible assets and how the rise of value in intangible assets creates an opportunity for intangible crime. So just, in 2 seconds, the intangible assets are things like software, code, technology. It's been on the rise since 1995 and the internet boom. And as these assets have grown in value, stealing the assets has also grown in the frequency as well as the methods to steal them.
And is it because there isn't a lot of understanding in the law? Because a tangible asset, okay, so I've got this pen. If you stole this pen, I would be alleviated of this pen and you would have this pen. If it's an intangible asset, right, I can't hold it, I can't see it, but I know that it's been stolen. It must be difficult to kind of prove that in a way, and B, does anybody really understand the fact that I didn't have it in the first place because it was intangible?
Yeah, and even if they understood it, the fact that I can steal the intangible pen from you in a country that may or may not be an ally, right? You're in the UK, I'm in the US, so we're allies, but if I'm somewhere else and we're not allies, then the level of theft or the extremeness of the crime has to be such that the government gets involved, which is not for the pen, right? So it's only these big things that we see in the news. And that was one of the things in the article, was intangible mystery.
So something else intangible, of course, is our data. Right. I mean, it's getting less and less tangible. Banks are closing. We're having to use online banking. We pay for things through, paper. I mean, I haven't seen money in a long time. I move stuff around, numbers on a screen that are diminishing by the minute, but they're still there. But money is intangible now, isn't it? Yes. Our data is intangible. So we are pushing things more and more into a sphere of inexistence. So it's not really there.
It's all intangible. That's what's so wild about it, is that when you look at the way you and I have lived since March 2020, the amount of time we spend doing intangible activity has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
I mean, even this conversation, right?
Yeah.
And so as that continues to grow, and that will only continue, there's all kinds of things happening in the metaverse with different economies that exist.
You can buy houses in the metaverse.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can steal them.
See, that does my mind in. And you can pay builders in the metaverse to build a swimming pool or whatever, and then somebody can come and steal it. Yeah. Does anybody really care about a stolen fake house? But it's cost real fake money.
That's the thing. It costs real fake money, and sometimes it costs real cryptocurrency, which can be converted into real money.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it has an impact. It's really a wild new frontier, and it's something that governments are just fundamentally not set up to do.
But the judiciary as well. If I went to the police here and said, look, I paid 30 grand to have a swimming pool built in the metaverse against my house, which I paid builders 60 grand to build, and it's all been stolen from me, they would show me the door, wouldn't they? They would say, look, there's the door, get out, we've got real crime to deal with. And I guess that is also the problem, is that the technology is racing ahead
Yes.
But the law and the courts and the police and everybody else is still in tangible stuff.
Totally. Yeah. And the frameworks for what laws are, where people subject themselves to some set of rules that we all abide by for the common good.
Yeah.
Don't work across borders the way that they work when you're looking at your neighbor in London or New York City. And so what's really wild about this, because in a lot of cases, you see that there are frameworks that are related. But in this case, the framework of law and the framework of intangible crime, when you're not an ally, are opposed. It doesn't work. And that was the whole premise of the article.
So we can't cross these borders. Will we ever be able to? Will there ever be a judiciary set up in the metaverse that will deal with crimes in that? I mean, all of this is completely alien to me, as you can tell. But, you know, will there ever be a chance to cross those borders and find those people and get that money back?
Only if people subject themselves to the rules. I had to quote Nietzsche. And so with Nietzsche in this article, he talks about how the really power in a punishment is the meaning we assign to it, not the actual punishment. And so until there's some kind of a consolidated body of authority in this metaverse or whatever we choose to call it, which seems to me far away, the answer to your question is no. I don't understand how we can have one until there's a consolidated body where if I build the pool or I take your 30 grand to build the pool and I don't do it, and then you come and you come after me in this metaverse, that I would subject myself to that law, which doesn't exist.
No. Like you said, it's the Wild West.
It's the Wild West.
But it's a Wild West that a lot of people don't particularly understand. So I guess then the next step is security, right? So if we can't get our money back, we have to make sure that what we're doing is massively secure in the first place.
Yes.
Can we ever leapfrog over these criminals who seem to be way ahead of us?
In terms of just technology security that would exist, you know, there are technologies that exist for that. I think to your point, that's something that is a low-hanging fruit. People can accomplish, but a lot of times it's not necessarily getting hacked, right? That's one use case of a crime, and that was with the Assange thing that we're dealing with now in the media is taking place. But to your point, also there's scams. Mm-hmm. There's just general people, you saying you're going to do something, I say I'm going to do something, and I don't do it. Mm. And that it's not applicable.
Well, it's just that's like real builders in this country. They say they're going to do something and they don't do it.
We're ready for that one. Yeah.
That's my life at the moment, I can tell you. Hey, this has been absolutely fascinating, Joshua. Thank you so much. Let's talk again. I've really enjoyed this. Let's do it again. Fantastic. And the article is in Newsweek. Intangible crimes are seeping through the cracks in the US legal system. It's a great piece on cybercrime. So have a look at that as well. Joshua Michael Jahani, MD of Jahani Associates in New York. Absolutely brilliant stuff.